But he gives a really good description of what happens when people wear the name of God, but don't honor the name of God. He says, if you call yourself a Jew, and every time I read that, I think about my mama when I was a teenager misbehaving. If you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself a Jew and rely on the law and boast in God and know his will and approve what is excellent because you're instructed from the law, and if you're sure that you yourself are a guide to the blind and a light to those who are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of children, having in the law the embodiment of knowledge and truth, you then, who teach others, do you not teach yourself? While you preach against stealing, do you steal? You who say that one must not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? You who abhor idols, do you rob temples? You who boast in the law dishonor God by breaking the law. For as it is written, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. I think what Paul wrote here in Romans 2 has more to do with taking the name in vain than cussing or swearing oaths, as I believe most of my life. And I'm not saying those things are right, but I'm saying that I think what Paul describes here is a perfect illustration of what happens when we wear the name, or we bear the name, or we take the name of God in vain. We tarnish the reputation of a holy God, not because of any failures on his part, but because of the hypocrisy in our own lives as we wear his name. So back in Exodus 28, while Moses was up on Mount Sinai with God, God gave him detailed instructions. And I love this picture. He gave him detailed instructions about the worship that was going to take place in the tabernacle by telling him some specific things that the priest had to wear. There's a lot of details in there, and it's easy to get lost and bored when you read those chapters. But there's something really interesting in there about the priestly garments. The priest had to wear certain things when he ministered in the tabernacle and the temple. And one thing he had to wear is he had to wear this breastplate. He had to wear this thing on his chest that had 12 precious stones in it. And on each of those 12 precious stones across his chest was engraved the name of one of the 12 tribes of Israel. So across the chest of the priest were the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. But that's not all he wore. He had a gold plate that hung on his forehead. He had a turban on, and from that turban hung a gold plate. And on that gold plate was written, Holy to Yahweh, holy to the Lord. So, when the priest went before God in the tabernacle, he literally, physically wore the name of the 12 tribes of Israel. He carried the name of God's people before God, but he also carried the inscription that he belonged to God, that this people belongs to God, because he wore the name Holy to the Lord. That meant God had also put his name on the people whose names that were symbolized across his chest in the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, keep that image in mind. Keep that image of the priest in mind as we look at Revelation 22, verses 1 through 5. And the end is in sight. In Revelation 22, verses 1 through 5, then the angel showed me, this is the last chapter in the Bible. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb through the middle of the city, or through the middle of the street of the city, and also